Karen Reed was framed.
I'm being charged with second-degree murder now?
The Commonwealth
not
has no case. They have no collision.
That means that
they are
somebody else-
desperate. This is the antithesis of a fair trial.
Yes.
And it is becoming evidently clear.
Calling out.
The more desperate the prosecution gets, Your Honor, at some point,
Yes.
at some point, this has to come to an end.
No ass. Correct?
Yes.
She's fucked.
Yes.
You have been lied to in this courtroom.
It's not possible I saw
If you
that.
agree with me,
Defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Forman? So say you all?
Welcome back. All right, we'll make this quick. Well, I was going to make it quick, but Linda the Train decided she wanted to pipe up real quick. I think she's excited because on this part 2, which I've decided to break down my original 5+ hour Karen Reed video into 3 more digestible parts, while still leaving a little bit of something for the 5-hour video in case anyone wants to go watch the full one. The link will be down below. In part 1, we looked over the McAlbert's unnecessary, unhinged random interview that made them look more guilty than they were before. And now we're moving on to another completely unnecessary interview after the Karen Reed trial, starring shamed, disgraced, fired former Trooper Michael Proctor. And quick pleasantries out the way, if you're new here, welcome to the world of long-form rant content. There is no structure or goal, it is just me reacting to whatever I react to, and the video is finished whenever it is finished. I also express no authority on this channel, these are just my opinions. You take what you take, you leave what you leave, but if you leave a like on the way out. That's just good home training. I pull clips from a litany of law tubers and other YouTubers who were following the Karen Reed trial, so make sure you check down below for their links. And with that said, let's dive right in. All right, now next we are going to move on to Michael Proctor. Because of course Michael Proctor had to come out of the woodwork. This is even more random than the McAlberts. The McAlberts, at least one of them testified this time. Michael Proctor was this hidden boogeyman that luckily escaped the line of fire this time because he got baked alive on trial last time. You escaped that punishment. No, you didn't, because you decided to come back out and remind everyone exactly how awful you really are. And I couldn't find the interview by itself. And again, I wasn't going to pay for something and this and that. So I found Loophole Lawyer or Looper Lawyer, whichever the channel name is. It'll be linked down below. And he reacts to it. So I'm going to react to his reaction. So make sure you go follow him.
This is Michael Proctor. A former Massachusetts State Trooper who was the lead investigator tasked with determining who killed John O'Keefe.
There's a little more emotion involved.
That afternoon, Proctor and Buchanan interviewed Brian Albert, who told them John never came inside his house.
John O'Keefe and Karen Reed never entered my house.
Jennifer McCabe, she also says
John never came in the house.
During my training and experience, I've been to pedestrian strikes where both shoes are right at the point of impact. People get ripped completely out of their clothing, and their clothes are at the point of impact.
Correct. And do you see how those cases are different than this case? One case, you would probably have actual injuries. You want to say like, oh, getting hit by a car, he can get knocked out of his clothes. That's why the shoes were wherever they were. However, to get knocked back that far, other injuries have to occur that were not present.
Your experience, have you ever seen a pedestrian who was hit by a 6,000-pound car with no bruises? Ever?
And then he says it's because he's only seen car crashes, or the car crashes he's seen happen at high speeds. This is not one of those high-speed incidences based off of what you all asserted. You asserted she was going like 20 plus miles an hour, which would still do way more damage than what we saw on his body. But whatever.
And their clothes are at the point of impact.
They noticed damage to the right rear taillight.
This is interesting. ABC showed a police report which indicates taillight to be shattered. And as we know now, it was shattered not at 34 Fairview, but at the Sallyport garage in Canton.
In their official police report, they describe it as shattered.
It's a large housing unit, so a significant chunk is missing from that taillight.
Trooper Michael Proctor is relieved of duty effective immediately.
Suspended without pay.
I just remember dropping on my knees and laying on my lawn, like crying. I couldn't even talk. I was complete hysterics. And I just remember my mother being like, what? And I kind of gathered myself, and I'm like, they relieved me of duty. What really got me was my union rep. He had to come over to my house and pick up all my uniforms. And the one time I broke down was putting my Class A uniform. You know, you go through a 6-month academy and you're very proud to put that uniform on.
6-month academy? Boy, get out of here with that. You know how many years these degrees took? 6-month academy. John O'Keefe is dead, okay? I bet it was more sad when they had to take his uniforms away. Not a disgraced former trooper who got in trouble from breaking almost every rule imaginable. Terrible chain of evidence, horrible communication about and with witnesses, to your supervisors using inappropriate language.
As you sat at almost 10 p.m. at night on a Wednesday night, August 17th, 2022, looking through Karen Reed's phone.
I didn't tell them I was looking through anything. They knew I was going through Miss Reed's phone. I provided a inappropriate joke as an update. They knew I was going through location data, text messages, Google searches. But like I had mentioned earlier, I had to stop.
Except Trooper Proctor, none of that really professional sounding stuff ended up in your comments to your bosses, did it?
Again, it was a poor joke.
Is that yes or no?
It did not, no.
It did not.
No,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, what did you write after you talked about going through the, quote, retarded client's phone?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No nudes so far.
No nudes so far, correct?
Correct.
And you said that to your bosses.
Yes, sir.
And documenting nothing but bias against this woman. I know you didn't think those text messages and anything would come out, but are you not in the same position where you see people get caught in this every day, where you are testifying in cases where people got their Google searches or their phones confiscated and it completely ruined their case or lives because what they wrote on that phone got out? And now you're shocked that stuff happened to you with the same exact thing. Really, the one time you broke down was over your uniforms, not over a fellow officer dying? But the uniforms, that's it for you. I wish I was shocked.
Wah, I can't wear my uniform. Wah. How do you think Karen felt putting on a jail uniform and facing potentially wearing it for the rest of her life?
In March, the State Police Trial Board dishonorably discharges Michael Proctor on 2 charges.
I don't know any trooper that's been punished for personal text messages on their personal phone, let alone fired.
Nice. Cheers to that.
I don't really know what the last part of that was, but see, this is why it is so annoying to deal with this whole group. Because you're over here trying to revise history of, I don't know anyone who was fired over personal text messages. They haven't been. You weren't fired only for your horrific text messages. You were fired for this whole handling of this case, including giving people confidential information.
Then before you ever interviewed Julie, your sister informed you that Julie actually wanted to get you a gift for your participation on this case, correct?
Oh, what?
Yes.
Courtney Proctor. I just saw Julie, and she said when this is all over, she wants to get you a thank you gift.
Updating everyone around this case that is not supposed to know about this.
Kevin Albert texts you on your personal cell phone. Paul G is reviewing the reports now. Steve Seraph is here if you need to interview him. And we can call Stephen Melanie in as well.
That's too much information for Kevin Albert to have about this case when he's supposed to be completely recused from it. He shouldn't have any information on the case whatsoever.
What investigation was Kevin Albert referring to in the text?
The death of John O'Keefe.
This investigation.
Correct.
Did you tell Kevin Albert it's completely inappropriate for him to be involved in this case at all?
I did not.
Did you tell him he shouldn't be having any contact with any of the witnesses, and he shouldn't even be having contact with you? Did you tell him that?
I did not.
What you did write back was, quote, okay, you and I are coming in at 1 to interview a firefighter, Katie, correct?
That's right.
So not only did you tell him that you were engaged in the process of obtaining interviews, you told him the name of the interviewee, right?
Yes.
And you were going to do it at Canton PD, correct?
Correct.
So you're sharing information about the identity of witnesses that you intend to interview with Brian Albert's brother, right?
Why would this be a bad idea? Because then he can contact those witnesses, talk to them, and help them to coordinate their statement. And I'm not saying that he did do that or he would do that, but there is the appearance that he can do that.
Your sister is not supposed to know about this. Kevin Albert, who was recused with the Canton Police Department, is not supposed to have all these details. Yet you were just throwing it around willy-nilly and said, anyone who wants to know something, as long as you're my friend, bring out a notepad. Oh, also, and you were drunk in your police cruiser after a night of drinking where Kevin Albert left his gun in your car.
I thought he said he didn't know any of the Alberts. But now we're getting to, okay, well, your sister's besties with Julie Albert, and you've worked with Kevin Albert. You're members of a gym together. You spend time together, but you don't know any of the Alberts. Does Kevin not count? So more Alberts that you know.
So it went beyond professional, right?
Because I had forgotten about Kevin.
Yeah, acquaintances. I don't consider that a relationship. It's
Well, let's look at that. In fact,
his memories
the two
are
of you
fresh.
got so drunk that Kevin Albert left his badge in your cruiser and couldn't find his gun the next morning. Right?
What?
Objection.
Overruled.
Bruh, did I leave my gun in your car? What the fuck?
I can't speak to any level of intoxication, but I don't recall either of us being intoxicated. I don't know.
I'm not asking you about his BAC, Trooper Proctor. I'm asking, have you seen drunk people before?
Yes.
You've been drunk before.
Yes, I have, sir.
We've all been drunk before, right?
Yes.
Was he drunk? Were you drunk that night?
I don't recall. It was a long time ago.
Which means you were drinking and driving in your cruiser. Right?
This is breaking all the laws, all the rules, and you want to dilute that down into, I sent some inappropriate text messages on my personal phone. Yes, but you sent them to your personal supervisors about personal work you were doing for work. So it wasn't actually personal whatsoever. If you are using your personal phone to conduct work business or to update your bosses about workplace product, that is up for grabs. You don't get to just break the rules on your personal phone as long as your work phone is fine. No. But that just shows you that's what he took away from it. He could be told all of these things, and Jackson brought it up in the first opening of, do you know how hard it is for a state trooper to get fired?
So how did we end up here? How does Karen Reed end up sitting in that chair on trial for an event that literally never happened? Well, the evidence is going to explain it. And it can be summed up in the following text message at the very beginning of this investigation. A text message of a now fired Massachusetts State Police officer named Michael Proctor. And that cancer has a name. And his name is Michael Proctor.
Was that a read?
Now, you didn't hear his name in the prosecution's opening statement. Not once. He was the lead investigator on the case officer, the architect of the entire prosecution. You'll learn there's not a single part of this case, folks, not a single part, that he didn't touch, that he didn't direct, that he didn't orchestrate personally. Every single bit of it has his fingerprints on it. You'll learn that Michael Proctor was a longtime family friend of the Alberts. And he's been disgraced by his own agency, not by us, by the Massachusetts State Police. investigated, suspended, and fired.
Bon appetit!
The evidence will show that Massachusetts State Police found him guilty, found Michael Proctor guilty of bringing dishonor to the department for his conduct, not in some other case, not in some tangential case, in this case. The investigation of Karen Reed. Conduct that included bias in favor of his friends, the all-powerful Albert family, and bias against my client, Miss Reed, the outsider. Do you have any idea how hard it is for a state trooper to get fired? Well, the evidence is going to show that Michael Proctor earned it. Every bit of it.
And
Fired. Buchanan,
Trooper Bukaki.
whatever, his supervisor, his punishments for doing just as equally terrible things pretty much, or at least watching it happen and not trying to stop it whatsoever, he lost 5 vacation days and got reassigned to another office. That's normally the worst that happens to police officers in this situation. You get reassigned just so you're out of public eye, and you might lose some vacation days. You keep your job, you keep your pension, you keep your benefits, nothing really happens to you. You were so bad in this investigation, you were fired.
That she went see if McCarthy's, where she met John and some of his friends, and then went over to the waterfall and met a group there.
Why do we know the facts better than the lead investigator?
In that they were, it was Jen McCabe invited them back to Fairview Road.
Trooper Bukaki.
That night, state police investigators report finding pieces of red plastic taillight and a clear piece of plastic at the scene. Pieces that they say appear to match the missing pieces from Karen Reed's SUV. Based on the investigation, what does the evidence tell you happened?
Later in the day, that collectively, as we all met as a unit, that
Owners of the house isn't going to get any shit for this, right?
That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, you interpreted it like he's not going to get in any trouble. He's not going to be a suspect, correct?
Correct.
And he's not going to be implicated in any way. Is that right?
Correct.
And your answer was one word. What was that word?
Nope. Well, he's not going to receive any shit, sir, because he had Mr. Albert, the homeowner, had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death.
And
16 hours in, he knew Brian Albert had nothing to do with it.
you knew this 16 hours into your investigation.
Yes.
Less than a day.
Yes.
To your satisfaction.
To my satisfaction and to all the members of my unit who investigated that day.
You hadn't been to the crime scene by the time you wrote this text, correct?
Correct.
Nah, we don't need to go there.
You hadn't been inside the home, correct?
No.
Nah.
Questioned a grand total of 3 percipient witnesses at this point, correct?
Yes.
And 2 of the 3 were named McCabe, right?
Correct.
And 1 of the 3 was named Albert, correct?
Yes.
And it's against that backdrop that you wrote, nope, the homeowner's not going to get any shit because he's a cop, right? Did you, in your mind, have this case wrapped up? Was it cut and dry in your mind?
Yes. You had the one shoe found at the scene, taillight pieces at the scene, the one shoe at the hospital, her statements. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? We knew. We were
Case over.
very confident. We knew that what had transpired.
Which was?
Karen Reed backed her Lexus vehicle into John O'Keefe.
I'm just going to hope for his sake that they chopped that answer up, because that's a horrible answer. Oh my gosh, this is just proof. Why are y'all on here giving interviews making yourself look worse? He goes up here and says, how do you know that she was guilty? Well, we had evidence. We had the shoe at the scene. We had the taillight pieces, you know, the pieces that weren't found until after Michael Proctor got involved and after multiple searches had already been conducted. And then the third one was, and we had the shoe at the hospital, and we had her statements. So we have one shoe, taillight pieces, the other shoe, her statement saying, I hit him, case closed, she hit him with the Lexus SUV. What? That is... I feel like that would be a hypothetical question on some type of exam or something, where it's like, hey, where do you start to investigate if you know that you have one shoe at the scene, one shoe at the hospital? let's just say, some mythical taillight pieces in the grass, and you have a woman saying she hit him. This is kind of like the start of that hypothetical, which would be, how do you go and confirm this? What do you do next? Not Michael Proctor. He said, case closed. Got it. As if, and this is the one thing that I don't understand with the weight of statements. People lie all the time. I'm not saying Karen Reed lied. I'm saying she was just excited utterances, throwing anything out there to try to figure out what is happening. What is she seeing before her? But even if it were, people lie all the time. Because there's no eyewitnesses, you don't know if there is someone else who showed up and she's trying to take the fall for them. You would have to do an investigation to figure that out. But no, you heard her statements, you found a pair of shoes, some taillight pieces that only you found, that no one found before you, Mr. Hotshot Detective. And he goes, and this was an investigation done to the satisfaction of my team. And what is this investigation? Well, we all huddled around in the police department and we kind of said, yeah, I think she's guilty. Case closed. What? I am so sorry for the people who live in Canton, because that is a horrible investigation. And he said it is to his satisfaction and to the satisfaction of everyone that was working that investigation, meaning they're all corrupt.
This investigation was conducted professionally, with integrity, and all the evidence collected, all the statements collected pointed in one direction. There was no bias influence on the evidence, on the information that was collected, or which direction the investigation pointed naturally.
Former Trooper Michael Proctor was the person who's the assigned case agent, the lead case agent in this particular investigation, correct?
Michael Proctor was the case officer for this.
Ultimately, to use another phrase, as the lead investigator, wasn't he?
I'm not going to agree with you.
Is there a reason that you want to try to distance yourself from naming Michael Proctor as the lead investigator in the case? Is there some reason?
I am not trying to distance myself. All I'm saying is the term that I use is the case officer. We're simply case managers. There's no leading investigation in any direction.
January 29th, 2022, he was assigned by the Massachusetts State Police as the case officer for this case, right?
No.
Who was?
He was assigned to be on call a month prior. Just because he was on call, he was assigned the case as a result. He was not assigned the case right there and then, because his assignment began much earlier in the day.
All right. Sergeant, we can do this all day, I suppose. He was on call.
He was.
January 29th, correct?
He was.
Because he was on call, any case that happened to come in would be assigned to whom?
To the on-call trooper that's on the schedule.
Which was whom?
It was Michael Proctor.
I'm not saying they're actually all corrupt, but whatever system they have in place and whatever protocols that they allow to happen consistently without oversight is corruption. And it's honestly pathetic. You have a dead cop and you don't even give him the grace of more than 16, 17 hours until you just come up with a mythical conclusion that you then ride for the next 3-4 years, to flounder in trial twice, to be so disgraced by your piss poor investigation that you're fired, and that the Commonwealth will not even call up saying they don't want anyone to hear your words because they are so poor. And he can barely even remember the sequence of events of, well, I think it was Jen McCabe who called, and then I guess they did this, and then I guess they did. Hey, how about before you go on TV, you review some shit? Because odds are they're going to ask you about the case. So you need to at least have your answers nailed down. But no, it's just, it is what it is. But this also shows how both Michael Proctor and the McAlberts have treated the situation the whole time, which is, all I have to do is say the right words and you're going to believe me. Because that's all they've had to do so far. And no one on their side has gotten in trouble for it. Not legally. Yet. But yeah, this just looks worse. You can see how he would have testified, and Alan Jackson would have had a field day with him.
His highly offensive text messages about Karen Reed, they rocked that first trial.
From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job. C-U-N-T.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Cunt. Yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
Within hours of that first trial ending, Michael Proctor was relieved of duty by the Massachusetts State Police. He was later fired.
Who are you writing to?
My good buddies that I've been friends with since first grade.
And then Bird decides to chime in.
My good buddies.
Good. No ass bitch. Right?
Yes, that's what he wrote. Canton hasn't had a homicide in like 20 years. So they're naturally interested. Just regrettable messages.
How did you respond to Bird saying, good, no ass bitch?
I laughed.
Thought that was funny, did you, Trooper Proctor? Thought that was funny?
It was unprofessional of me. That's something I shouldn't have done.
Well, I think we all know it was unprofessional. It was a lot of things. I'm asking you, did you think it was funny?
Well, according to my response at the time, apparently. But in all the content and the messages, what you don't see is a conspiracy.
What do you see?
I see someone who's caught up in the moment of investigating, a fellow police officer and just saying inappropriate things.
Can you see why people called you sexist and misogynist?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could 100% understand why. It was made in jest. It's a figure of speech. Hopefully she kills herself like that, not literally.
That's a figure of speech? Yes. Do you use that commonly?
Yes.
He says while smiling, that is not a figure of speech whatsoever. Telling someone to kill themselves means you hope they die or are no longer in your life again and that their life ends. There's no way. And it's just another example of we have to play stupid and just act like you weren't as rude, unprofessional, and borderline evil as you act. And you up here smiling about it now, acting like, oh yeah, we all just go around telling each other to kill themselves, especially when we actually want them to do it. Because you would literally only benefit if she did. And that's why you put her in that psychiatric hold right after you arrested her.
Not commonly, but it's a figure of speech I made in jest. It wasn't literally, I hope she kills herself.
At what point did you develop such strong negative feelings about Karen Reed that you would say things like, hopefully she kills herself, or calling her the C word?
The moment he found out whose family was involved, that's exactly when he developed these feelings, because he needed to, because he knew he had to paint her as such. So anyone who hears anything needs to know she is blank, blank, blank. She's fucked. She's terrible. She's a horrible person. There will be serious charges brought upon her. He doesn't even know her or know John. Yet within 16 hours, we are getting this much emotion. However, given our knowledge that he knows the Alberts and knew Colin ever since he was a kid.
How long have you known Michael Proctor?
Since I was a little kid.
Now he realizes there's a dead body on one of his best friend's front lawn, or at least one of his family's good friends with other families' front lawn, and knows that anyone else has to take the fall but them. And I'm sure they told him stuff too, because he's trying to get information. Who is this? And the McAlberts are like, oh, she's this terrible person. She's this jealous person. She hated John because of this and that. And she's so rageful. And that's why she did this. So I'm sure he accepted whatever perception they painted of her from the beginning, and then magnified and amplified that towards all of the police around him. And within 16 hours, she's this huge mega villain mastermind who somehow orchestrated all of this and yet also forced them to have a shitty investigation. And it's like, how do we know this? Because Colin Albert didn't even end up on anyone's report for a year. He, especially Michael Proctor specifically, knew that boy was in that house because he knows that boy.
Matter of fact, you testified at the grand jury, the state court grand jury on this case, that you knew that Colin Albert was at the location, right?
Yes.
Did you make any concerted efforts to keep Colin Albert's name out of this investigation?
No.
Why is it, Trooper Proctor, that Colin Albert's name fails to appear in a single police report? until July 18, 2023.
Colin Albert was not at the home. He left at approximately 12:10 a.m. before anyone from the waterfall had arrived back there.
And at no point did he ever correct it until he was forced to correct it. Which is also just crazy, because he's saying he wasn't at the home because he left at 12:10 before anyone from the waterfall got back. I'm like, aren't the reports that people were getting back at 12:15? So you mean because someone allegedly was not in the house 5 minutes before people started arriving, that means it is okay to leave their name off of any documentation that says he was in that house that night? Make it make sense. Oh, but something I do want to call out, two little things. One, I'll give him his props of, they said, well, can you see why people think you're a misogynist? And he's like, yeah, you know, I can see that. I'm like, at least there's some awareness. Congratulations. You have some awareness right then and there that, yes, you were extremely sexist and misogynistic towards a woman you were supposed to be unbiasedly investigating. But the thing is, he doesn't address it. He sidesteps it and says, well, I could see why people would think that. I'm like, no, you need to deny first of saying, no, this has never happened in another case. This was an isolated incident. I normally am way more professional than this. I would never talk about something that we're investigating. I mean, we know that's a lie, but if you were trying to make yourself not sound guilty, you would probably frame it in that way. Speaking of guilty and framing things inaccurately, you wanted to say that Canton hasn't had a homicide in 20 years. And I don't know if I'm really going to research and get into it, but we can talk about Sandra Burchmore for just a hot, quick second. Future cut in. Actually, it is Sandra Burchmore. I make a mistake and I refer to her as Sarah Burchmore. I'm personally going to put the responsibility on Sarah Catherine Boone Paulson.
He's escaping! The killer is escaping! Help me!
So that I can avoid taking it. But no, I don't really know why I got the flip up. In my mind, I saw Sandra, but then playing back, I said Sarah every time. So I apologize, Sandra. Moving on. Because she is another very similar case, including very similar and overlapping actors in Canton with some just effed up shit that made the whole thing look horrible. And this is going to be like a vague, quick retelling without like a super ton of clear detail. Like I said, I haven't really dived into this, but in February of 2021, almost exactly a year before John O'Keefe is found dead in the snow, Sandra Burchmore was found dead in her apartment. She allegedly was having a relationship with one of Canton's police officers, Matthew Farwell, and he had been grooming her since she was 15, and I think she was 23 at the time, and he had a wife and kids, and she got pregnant, told him he wanted her to have an abortion. She didn't want to. She wanted to keep the baby. So on February 1st, the surveillance caught Matthew sneaking into her apartment right before she died. And then on February 4th, they found her hanging and they ruled her death a suicide. So he staged the scene after he killed her. And there were 0 state charges filed. Of course, because the DA at the time was still Morrissey, who decided not to charge state charges. However, just like in the O'Keefe investigation, the FBI had to get involved. And the FBI charged him. And now he's in jail for premeditated murder because they found text messages which show that this was a planned event. And they have crossover officers. Also, it's just horrible because not only did he groom her since she was 15, Matthew Farwell and his twin brother William Farwell, also on the 4th, both had relationships with her. And there was a third police officer who also did as well. I don't blame her for any of this. Naturally, she was the one who was being groomed by 3 grown adult police officers with an insurmountable power dynamic. And then they killed her, and they ruled it a suicide. So Michael Proctor, who was also consulted on that case, he wasn't the lead investigator. However, Kevin Lank, who was also a witness in this trial, was. And then, lo and behold, drumroll please, another officer on the case was Kevin Albert, the guy who just happens to end up in all of these things. However, I don't think we've ever seen Kevin Albert. Like, we've seen him. I don't know if he ever testified. I don't know how he got away from testifying, but good for him. Out of all this, he looks his reputation is probably saved the most because he hadn't made all these appearances and given all these interviews, but he was a part of that case too. So you want to so confidently look in my face and say, we haven't had a homicide in 20 years, even though you know the following year you had one. So how many did you have? How many have y'all covered up systemically?
So you did have a close personal and professional relationship with Kevin Albert, didn't you?
Which is why you're just out here texting him.
I'd say it was a professional relationship.
All willy-nilly.
Only a professional relationship?
Him and I were members at a gym together, and we worked a cold case together for several months.
What kind of gym?
Drinking, socializing, maybe?
Once in a while.
I thought he said he didn't know any of the Alberts. But now we're getting to, okay, well, your sister's besties with Julie Albert, and you've worked with Kevin Albert. You're members of a gym together. You spend time together, but you don't know any of the Alberts. Does Kevin not count? So more Alberts that you know.
So it went beyond professional, right?
Because I had forgotten about Kevin.
Yeah, acquaintances. I don't consider that a relationship. It's
Well, let's look at that. In fact,
his memories
the two
are
of you
fresh.
got so drunk that Kevin Albert left his badge in your cruiser and couldn't find his gun the next morning. Right?
What?
Objection.
Overruled.
Bruh, did I leave my gun in your car? What the fuck?
So it's just like, yeah, this is commonplace for y'all. The reason why no one batted an eyelash is because they do this all the time. This is just how they handle investigations. Anyone can do anything. We're just going to cover it up. You don't need a chain of custody. You don't need actual verifiable facts or evidence. We're all vibes.
those feelings developed as the case went on.
I mean, can you see how people might think, he was caught in this instance speaking about a suspect in this way. Maybe it's happened in other cases as well.
I 100% understand why people would think that. But when you have, a fellow police officer around my age, 2 kids of his own,
white, male,
it generates an emotion.
What happens to those of us that are black, not a police officer, and not a man?
Okay, pause. Sir, thank you. Take your snaps. I know that's right. Like I said before, if these were the fat Alberts...
I'll get hooked my knee, Hey, Russell, you stay here.
I'm telling Mom on you.
Absolutely none of this would be happening. All 10 of them would be in jail.
And I expressed those emotions in a negative way, which I shouldn't have. I shouldn't even, been texting my friends anything.
And some of his texts were with colleagues, including 2 superiors.
At the Massachusetts State Police, for God's sake. And what was their response? Sergeant Buchanan,
Trooper Bukaki,
liked this conduct with a big old thumbs up.
When we first got into her phone, the number one thing I wanted to review was no nudes so far, location data, text messages.
What did you write after you talked about going through the, quote, retarded client's phone?
No nudes so far.
No nudes so far. And you said that to your bosses.
Yes, sir.
You were looking for naked photographs of Miss Reed on a Wednesday night as you sat in your office at 9:44 p.m., correct?
No, not correct. And when we got into the phone, I texted the guys at work, our work chain, that joke. No nudes so far, guys. No evidence because it didn't happen. I spent 2 days on the stand. That was Alan Jackson's opportunity to bring that up and question me on it.
Specifically asking you whether you planted evidence.
Yeah, not one question.
Yeah, because he's not going to give you a chance to lie in front of the jury. You keep forgetting, and this is what the McAlberts forgot as well. The defense does not have to prove a thing. That is not their job. Their job is to poke holes in the Commonwealth's case, and there was nothing but holes provided by you and the criminalist.
You see other holes on the back of
direct you to here, 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 here.
Even though all of y'all were on the defense, you weren't actually the ones on trial. So they didn't have to get into this. They didn't have to get into, let's go find Chloe the dog and do all this and do all that just to run down roads. No, they just have to create doubt.
I have doubts. Such doubts.
They're not here to solve the case. You can put two and two together. They don't have to prove it. They don't have to prove you planted evidence. All of the facts surrounding that hypothesis confirms it more than it disproves it. So it's silly to believe that their lawyers would give you a chance to BS your way out of it. No. And unfortunately for you, you can't even prove you didn't plant evidence because there was no chain of custody. Not one that wasn't corrupted.
What date was the clothing brought to your lab?
March 14th, 2022.
So that means that your chain of custody at the lab began on March 14th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that was about 6 weeks after the date of the incident, January 29th of 2022?
Yes.
And of course, you can't speak to the chain of custody from January 29th to March 14th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And you have no information and do not know why Michael Proctor waited 6 weeks to bring this clothing to your lab, do you?
Sustained.
Do you know where Michael Proctor stored this clothing during that 6 week period?
No.
Do you know how often he was alone with access to the clothing during that 6 week period?
Sustained.
Do you know if he had access to pieces of red or clear taillight during that 6 week period?
Sustained. Move on, Mr. Higgins.
And he wants to say the emotions got the best of me. He's a dead cop around my age, has kids. Oh, okay. You're a police officer. Not ideally, but you are going to encounter a multitude of cases that are similar or overlapping with your own life experiences. You can't just be emotionally unhinged and off the hook and blaming this, blaming that, talking this way, forming opinions, and then taking action off of these inappropriately expressed and gathered opinions just because you're upset. And as this goes on, I'm like, did you tell anyone the truth? Because you're saying, no, I didn't actually mean for her to kill herself. That was fake. No, I wasn't actually searching for her nudes. That was fake. No, I didn't say that Brian Albert wasn't going to catch any shit because he's a Boston cop. It was because that he didn't have anything to do with it, which I figured out after 16 hours, mainly because I solely interviewed McCabe's Alberts and Carrie Roberts. So it seems like you don't tell the truth to anyone. You're giving updates to everyone, and now that we're reading you the updates you gave them, you're saying, well, that's not what I meant. What did you mean? Because to this day, you haven't settled on a story. It keeps changing as soon as you're confronted with it. Or actually, no, I'm inaccurate. It doesn't change whatsoever, regardless of the facts you present to them, trying to be like, can you make your story make sense? Nope. Then you're lying to us. Nope. Then what happened? Nope.
That the state police, multiple units within the state police, the Canton Police Department, about a dozen civilians are all in this conspiracy to frame a woman we don't know. And over the last 2.5, 3 years, not one person has said, wait a minute, I'm not going down for this.
And who are they going to tell? Y'all are the police. The district attorney is allegedly in on this. Who do they go to besides the media, besides the defense, which we see people like Sergeant Barrios and other people who witness different things? Where are they supposed to go if they want to finally tell the truth? Nowhere. And when you are the most powerful people in the town saying, you stay in line and everything is going to go our way, of course they're not going to come out. I can't stand this mentality because Brian Albert did the same thing.
You do realize for this conspiracy to be true, it would take 30 to 50 people. You'd have to have multiple cops on 2 different police departments, multiple civilians, the medical examiner, firemen, EMTs, you name it.
Meanwhile, you have all of those people. It's just a confession. And it happens time and time again with guilty people. But no, you both bringing this up just makes you look more guilty. Correct. You're naming off every single person you had involved. The only person you didn't have involved was the medical examiner. And what happens when the medical examiner doesn't say what you want her to say? You call her a whack job, and she can't even determine if this is a homicide. Or not can't determine, will not determine it based off of the autopsy.
Trooper DeChico texted you, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination, correct?
Yes.
Terrible.
How did you interpret that? Rookie move, not getting that homicide determination.
He's going to say it's a sarcastic remark, but where it's important is that it shows that you need to get a determination that the cause of death is homicide.
You're not looking so much for her opinion as looking to give her your opinion, right?
Absolutely not.
You responded, Yuri and I had 2 conference calls with her, sent her numerous photos, etc. We laid out the entire case for her. Your answer was, of course it's undetermined. She was just a whack job, right?
With sarcasm.
Sarcasm in relation to the death of John O'Keefe. It's a serious subject, but sarcasm.
The doctor changed her opinion?
No.
But the determination of the medical examiner, that didn't matter to you, right? Because you had already decided you were going to charge Miss Reed with murder anyway.
That's right.
Objection.
I'll allow it. That's right.
Yeah, the determination did not matter as we continued on with the investigation.
The medical professional, the medical examiner, the doctor, their determination did not matter because my investigation, in which I barely spoke to anyone, we improperly collected evidence. We put blood in Solo cups, revealed to us that Karen Reed killed him, even though objective evidence by someone uninvolved in the case who's a medical professional couldn't even determine that the person was actually killed. My goodness, what a shame.
So yeah, it sounds like it is just common practice for y'all to do whatever you need to do to check the boxes for the outcome you have already predetermined.
Is there any part of the actual investigation that you would do over?
Because it's blowing up into this crazy so-called conspiracy, maybe I could have avoided it by, looking at other people's cars just to say we did it.
Wow, did you hear that? Maybe I should have avoided this by looking into other people's cars just to say I did it. That is what we call pretext in the law. You don't look into other people's cars just to say you did it to support your original conclusion. You look in the other cars to find evidence, you big dope.
Was that a read?
Yes, it was.
That's just insane. I'm not going to rehash everything we just went over, but after everything we've talked about, you say the only thing that you would change is you would check other people's cars just to say you did it? That's it? You only thought that you needed to check cars because you had determined that this was a car accident, even though your first impression was that he got beat up?
Bird then writes, so the owner of the house was a woman. Sorry, was a woman cop that beat him, ? Right?
Yes.
And then you wrote, that's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you said, then I saw the guy, correct?
Correct.
So what you meant by that, Trooper Proctor, was according to you, based on your conversations, your initial conversations with the paramedics, the first responders, you were under the impression that this was a beating death. He'd been beaten to death, correct?
The way it was given to me, sir, was
That's yes
for
or
medical.
No? That's yes or no?
He's going to answer the question. If you want to withdraw the question, you can.
No, go ahead.
We entered this investigation with an open mind. It was given to me as a medical situation. And when we saw Mr. O'Keefe's body at the hospital, the Sergeant Mechanic and I, we saw his injuries and we were kind of working through how these injuries occurred.
As a matter of fact, both you and Sergeant Buchanan believed that he had suffered the injuries as a result of a physical altercation based on information you received from the paramedics initially, correct?
Initially, we didn't know what we had. We knew there was some significant injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, and we were still figuring out how those injuries occurred.
Well, you just testified. Initially, we didn't know what we had.
Right.
But 16 hours after the fact, you wrote the following sentence. That's what I initially thought after talking to Canton paramedics, correct?
Correct.
So initially, You did think you knew what you had. A physical altercation leading to a death, correct?
Correct.
There we go. That's it. That's all you wanted him to admit. Your initial thought was that he was beat up. After you saw the body at the hospital, your first thought was, man, this dude got the shit beat out of him. That is huge.
And he says, just because this blew up, meaning if this didn't blow up, he wouldn't have changed a thing. All of the actions he did that once they came to the light, his bosses had to fire him because dishonorably discharged because he brought shame to his position. So when he's over here crying, you have to do a 6-month academy to wear this uniform. You need it more than 6 months because you don't know how to do anything, apparently. You just have to have a thought and an opinion, and that is enough to try to lock someone up in prison for life and then claim to be the victim as well. And also, if you did check other people's cars, maybe you could have checked the interior and see if any one of the Ford Edges had blood in it. Maybe you could see if John O'Keefe's DNA was on any of the other vehicles. You wanted to just say, well, I could have checked the vehicles to see if we could see some cracked taillights, because the insinuation is it was so obvious there's only one person with a cracked taillight. That means this happened. Notwithstanding all the other factors that played into that night, that makes it make more sense, especially given the snowplow driver saying that he saw the Ford Edge in the middle of the night parked right in front where it wasn't there before.
You take the right onto Fairview. Describe to the jury what you see in the road at that point.
As I make my right onto Fairview, I notice that there's a vehicle on the right-hand side, roughly in the area of the flagpole in front of 34 Fairview.
Okay. And did you make note of what type of vehicle that was?
Yes,
What type of vehicle was that?
a Ford Edge.
What direction was that vehicle parked when you saw it?
It was parked nose going up Fairview.
How close to the area of the flagpole was that Ford Edge parked at 3:30 in the morning?
I can't give you an exact measurement, but looking at the front door, it was about 3 feet to the left of the front door.
Once you heard that, you should have checked it. I mean, it was probably too late by that point because you didn't try to investigate him and other eyewitnesses at the time, because that would have meant that it took you more than 16 hours to investigate it. You were so confident, you said, case closed, we did this. I bet y'all all in the police station like Dora the Explorer going, we did it. After doing nothing. Maybe you could have found DNA that matched some of the 2 to 3 to 5 people that were found on his body and clothing and car that are just remained unidentified to this day. Okay, we gotta go.
There's some witnesses maybe we could have interviewed a little sooner.
Nah, you solved the case in 16 hours.
But overall, myself and every detective in that office worked this case like we always do. And so I wouldn't change anything.
Nothing.
No.
As the lead investigator and the case agent, you're aware it's also your responsibility and your obligation to investigate all potential individuals, right? All potential suspects.
I guess I have to.
Yes.
You're obligated to investigate anybody who would have a motive, a means, and an opportunity to commit the crime or the offense, correct?
Correct.
Motive includes anything from financial gain to could just be revenge, right?
Yes.
Or it could be someone who's interested in someone romantically, correct?
And by upset, I mean there's a moment where he texts her, she ignores him, and John like kisses her forehead. And then Brian Higgins and Brian Albert start play wrestling, and it's really weird and cringy. But then later after that, it was like 11:58, I think, you can see him, he looks more agitated, and he's like gesturing over to where they just were and where John and Karen still were. And then when you see him, like, he's gesturing in a way that he seems like a hurt puppy. He's in his feelings, like she's ignoring him. He thought that he had a thing with her. Look at the head on the shoulders or whatever. And I slowed it down, so this isn't actually real time, this is half speed. But to try to show that this is not very much a pleasant conversation, I would say. So then why is he one of the people just a few moments after this texting John to come over?
Take a look.
That video is John and Karen kissing, and John kissing her on the head. And then we've got the, I don't think it was described as grab-assing this trial, but the grab-assing. I hope it's clearer in court too. But the freeze frame was John kissing Karen on the head, standing closer to the bar, Higgins being closer to us, with Higgins with the Harley Davidson on his sweatshirt. And the two of them, what did Trooper B call this? The rear thrusting? He is messing around with her friends. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And then John kisses her on the forehead, and then his friend is grabbing his arm. This is not a practice fight. This is attention-seeking behavior. That's as cringy as the texts. This is a better point. He's trying to get her attention. He doesn't. She's kissing John. And then his friends are like, let it go. Let it go. And then I imagine they'll get to Higgins' text. Higgins texting John, are you coming with us?
He had access to the exact same thing that you saw. Why did he do nothing?
And that's a good argument.
A few minutes later, Higgins then texts John directly.
That's a good argument.
3 question marks. It's now 12:20 a.m. These guys are not good friends. They barely spoke or even acknowledged each other when they walked into the bar together, other than a quick greeting. So why was Higgins coaxing John over to 34 Fairview? You coming here after this? And why not text Karen? Because at that moment, he wasn't interested in Karen. He was interested in John O'Keefe. This is about 5 minutes before John gets out of the SUV and walks toward the house. About 5 minutes before Karen sees him alive for the last time.
Oh, by the way, I think I might not have put the first time he said, Karen Reed stopped talking to Higgins. She ghosted him. And last time, if you remember, Higgins quibbled with ghosted a little bit. Buchanan didn't. He defined what ghosted means. He said, yes, he agreed. Maybe she did ghost him. And then Buchanan says, when Higgins texts Reed, well, they're in the same room. Because he thought that was going to be good for him. But what does Alan Jackson do? He says, they are, aren't they? They're in the same room. Because, I don't know, we've probably all done that before. Those of us who grew up with texting when we were in high school or even college. Somebody's in the room, maybe you like them, you text them, see if they check the phone, see if they want to come talk, they want to go outside and hang. And they look down and they don't answer. How does that make you feel? It's like, what? That's how she's going to play me? We're in the same room? That's the vibe I got from Jackson.
So why wouldn't Michael Proctor or any of the investigators look into that whatsoever? Or at least even question him? I don't even know if they questioned him as if he were a suspect rather than, just tell us what you want to tell us because you're our buddy.
So, or it could be an argument contained inside a vehicle as well.
Yeah, which is the conclusion you jumped to 17 hours into your investigation, right?
It's something, evidence we have contained within cell phones reiterates that fact.
He told you that he was engaged in a flirtatious relationship with Miss Reed?
He did.
So you became aware pretty early on that Mr. Higgins at least had a motive to want to visit harm on John O'Keefe, correct?
No, absolutely not.
Well, you knew he had this flirtatious relationship with Karen Reed, is that right? You became aware that Karen Reed actually ignored text messages from Mr. Higgins while at the Waterfall Bar and Grill with John O'Keefe, correct? At 2:20 a.m., Brian Higgins sent a text message to John O'Keefe prompting him to go to 34 Fairview, correct?
I don't recall that text.
Do you recall a text from Brian Higgins to John O'Keefe after they left Waterfall? Where are you at?
I don't recall that one either.
Brian Higgins certainly had the means to commit the crime, correct?
No, I don't.
He's a big guy. Certainly had the physical ability to get into a physical altercation with John O'Keefe.
Hell yeah, our Higgy Bear can whip some ass.
Just because he's a big guy doesn't mean doesn't have the means or the motive to hurt Mr. O'Keefe.
I wouldn't ask
They
you
were
about
friends. They were friends.
He said, "You're kind of a loner." I responded, "No, not really. I have a ton of buddies, but I only let a handful of friends in that I'm tight with." And then I typed "circle of trust" in quotes.
Some circle of trust. The second John turns his back, Higgy Bear's making out with his girlfriend.
They were friends. The motive to hurt Mr. O'Keefe. They were friends. Yep.
And literally in the minutes before John O'Keefe's death, you saw video surveillance of Brian Higgins and Brian Albert taking fighting stances with one another, correct?
I interpreted that as horsing around.
Which this is unreal for any investigator officer to ever say. No, he didn't have a motive because they were friends. Don't most homicides happen between people that you know? Especially in relationship love triangles. You think every time a person has murdered another person because they like their other person's spouse, they didn't do it because they were friends, that they didn't have motive because they were friends. That's exactly why they have motive. Because they are friends and they both have interest in the same girl. Definition of motive. If he was attractive to some stranger's girlfriend, you know, there's still motive there, but it's less connected because you don't even know that other person. And most of the time in those situations, they're solely focused on the object of their desire, not getting the other person out of the way, because sometimes, most of the time, they don't even know there's another person. You knew who the other person was, or Brian Higgins knew who the other person was, and was in contact with both of them. Just so messy. And then wants to act like an ATF agent who was a firefighter and also a this and also a that.
You're a former firefighter, is that right?
Yes.
Did that put you in a position of being a first responder?
Yes.
And you're currently a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
That puts you in the position of being a first responder, correct?
I'm also a tactical medic, yes.
Which means that you have training to be an observer. You're a trained observer, more than the average person, correct?
Yes.
You look for things out of the ordinary. You look for things that don't belong. As an investigator, and former firefighter, first responder, correct?
Yes.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road, in the lawn, or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I didn't ask
would
you
have done
if you
something
did.
to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because there was a body there, you certainly would have seen that.
Objection. Doesn't have the means to get into a fight after you watch this surveillance video showing that he likes to at least play fight to the point where they're pushing over tables. It's just like, how dumb do you want me to believe you are? Because the bar's already low, but I don't even think you're this dumb.
Tonight at 2:22 a.m., there was a call between him and Brian Albert that morning?
I was not aware of that.
Might have been important to your investigation, don't you think?
Depends what that. I don't know what the call was about.
I'm sorry, finish that. Depends.
I don't know what the call was about. I don't know if they actually connected and communicated what the length of the call was. So.
Right, and you never asked, did you?
I was unaware that call took place.
And you're unaware that that call took place because you didn't get his phone, Trooper Proctor, right?
Typically, we don't get witnesses' phones, sir.
You were unaware of that call at that time because you didn't seek his phone, correct?
Is there any part of the actual investigation that you would do over?
I wouldn't change anything.
Nothing.
No.
Wow. It is just amazing that this was the person who was the lead investigator on a case that could have sent Karen to prison for the rest of her life. Now that we know Karen is not the killer, we are pursuing all the people that had the means, motive, and opportunity. That leaves only a few people that could have committed this crime. And we are moving our cuddly Higgy Bear right to the top as the #1 suspect.
And that was the end of our Michael Proctor section, brought to you by Loophole Lawyer. Thank you again. But even that last little part of, I didn't know that those phone calls were deleted. I didn't know they had a 22-second phone call or whatever. I didn't know if they connected. I didn't know what the contents are. Yeah, that's called you didn't investigate. You learn all of these things when you investigate things. You just admitting time and time again how incompetent you are. Yet you asserting such confidence that you made the right choice that 2 juries had to say, we don't believe this. No matter what, not a single jury could convict her or would convict her of the crimes you accused her of, which was primarily second-degree murder, intentional. And kind of as an update slash kind of a transition to the next section, we know that this is just commonplace for them because of what just recently came out. Because this video is taking me so long, literally every single day new stuff comes out and I'm wading through what should I include, what shouldn't I. It's just a mess. But our favorite attorney with a walking IV Valium drip, Adam Lally, had to take the stand in one of his other cases because his office, the Commonwealth District Attorney's office, still did not turn over 6 search warrants to the defense in this other case after years. And you'll never guess who filled out the search warrants.
That was 2021. How many search warrants?
6.
6. When you asked, and he signed all 6 search warrants, is that fair to say?
That's my understanding, yes.
So,
okay.
Trooper Proctor did 6 warrants.
When did you ask Trooper Proctor for the search warrants?
I mean, when the case gets filed.
In July or August of 2021 when they were filed for.
Okay. And when did you get all 6 search warrants from Trooper Proctor?
I didn't get all 6 search warrants from Trooper Proctor.
What? You did not?
I did not.
Okay. So
he asked for the search warrants. There were 6 of them from Trooper Proctor in July or August of 2021. When did you get them? I didn't.
Did you get 1 search warrant from him?
From him specifically, I received a portion of the affidavit for search warrant 306 and the entire affidavit for search warrant 348.
Okay, so you got portions of 2 search warrants, and you knew there were 6 search warrants. Is that right?
The affidavit's not the whole search warrant. The affidavit's only part of it. And how do you get half of an affidavit? If somebody gives me half of an affidavit, my response is going to be, what the fuck is this? How do you get half of... What does that even mean? Half of an affidavit. But there's a search warrant and an affidavit. What? For all of you in the chat saying it's a half-a-davit, 10 out of 10 law nerds, the wit never disappoints. I'm buffering. I had to back this up.
And so when do you realize that you don't have all 6 search warrants? How long into the process? Do you know right away you don't have them all?
I
Or
mean,
do you not know for a long time you don't have them all?
Obviously.
I don't think I realized at that time that I didn't have them all.
How?
So I guess I'm confused about how.
You know there's 6 and you have like parts of 2. I don't even understand what you mean you don't realize it. Also, search warrants are one of those things that they're just, once they're signed and served, they're done. There's nothing else that needs to be done with them other than turned over, because one of the first types of motions that defense attorneys file in motion practice to keep cases moving along is motions regarding the search. Like it's one of the early stages before you go to trial is attacking the search warrants and attacking the search.
What are the dates of the first time you asked Trooper Proctor for the search warrant?
Specific date, I don't know.
What about the 4th time?
Again, I don't know how many times and I don't know specific dates.
So I guess my question
Where are
is,
the
how
notes?
does your system work if you're not getting the discovery that you're asking
He doesn't
a
have a
police
system.
officer for, and you're asked for it, let's just say 5 times?
Counsel, you keep calling it a system. I have a feeling it's on vibes and I haven't gotten yelled at about it yet, and the court hasn't ordered me to turn them over and screamed at me, so they're not getting turned over. This is wild.
What do you do? Do you go to the office and you sit down and say, give me these search warrants, I have to turn them over?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
Did you do that in this case?
Yes.
You go to Trooper Proctor and say, give me the search warrants because I have to turn them over.
Yes.
When did you do that?
Sometime prior to the defendant's arraignment in December of 21.
Wait. You started asking for search warrants in, I made a note, July or August of 2021, which means that's probably closer in time to when the murder happened. And then the arraignment after the grand jury happened in December of 2021. Are you telling me that you didn't read the search warrants before you went to grand jury? Because when you file a case, or grand jury a case, or prelim a case, you have to review if there's any serious issues with the warrant, because if there's serious issues with the warrant, you have to then make the decision about whether you bring the case or not. What? How do you file a case without reviewing the warrants? Because if the warrants are fucked, you don't have a case.
Says you'll get the search warrants, I'll send them to you. Did he have them? Did he have copies of the search warrants? He just wasn't giving them to you?
That I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
So it seemingly never ends. And you hear how apathetic Lally is to the whole thing. No, I don't have it. I get it. It was 6 search warrants and this was in 2021 and it's 2025 and you still don't have them and we've been just stalling. Like Emily said, if you don't have, like, if something's wrong with the search warrants, then you don't have a case. But it seems this is just commonplace. Not a care in the world. Years and years go by and he doesn't submit 6 search warrants. The easiest thing ever. Go find them. It's 6 pieces of paper. Give it 10, 15 minutes and give me the damn search warrants. But you can't because it's all shoddy work. You even see it in this case. Why? Because he's saying he seized the vehicle at 5:30 when we know it was 4:12. Then everyone admits, yes, this was incorrect, but I used a template and then it just happened to get on every single search warrant after that.
Search warrants, I use that as a template. So I never caught it on the first one, and that's the reason those times are off on the other affidavits I wrote.
So the first one was false, and then every single one after that was false too.
There was just an incorrect transcription of time.
An incorrect transcription of the time.
Yes.
It's not a typo.
So you got the 4 wrong, you got the 1 wrong, and you got the 6 wrong. And those turned into 5 and 3.
At this point, the jury's like, oh, okay, so you just what can we trust? Because it's not just one thing. It is so many things that just keep adding up.
Doesn't see an issue with it. It truly is insulting and shows that most of those officers are not worthy of the badge they hold.
Yeah, double homicide.
Bitch.
No, I'm sorry.
And that is going to be it for part 2. In part 3, we will go back and look at the jurors' reactions to see what they took away from it and how they came to the decisions they came to. I think it's very interesting. I think reviewing all of this is super interesting. These last 2 interviews, the McAlberts and Michael Proctor, completely unnecessary. They just came on TV to fill up their bag, say we didn't do it, say woe is me, you're being too mean to me, and then leave. However, the juror interviews are like, why were we there for 8 weeks? So stay on the lookout for that. But if you like this video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you're feeling it. Until next time.